Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with a 3-minute cattle market update for Wednesday, December the 14th, where we saw a disappointing end to last previous week there with lower fat cattle and the board kind of tailing off. And then we figured we'd come into this week, really the last active week of the year for business, and we thought it would be continued to be a downer, but all of a sudden we see this optimism out of nowhere, especially on the feeder cattle market and on the board. But if you look at your live cattle futures for February, Monday was up 242 just out of nowhere, and it just seems like the funds all of a sudden decided that they like commodities again. Tuesday was up another $1.02 to end the day on Tuesday at 113.97. December spot fats at 110.35. Feeder cattle, January contract, Monday was up 260. Tuesday was up 42 cents to end the day on Tuesday at 128.97. Look at your weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade on only 61,000 head of negotiated sales, which is the lowest we've seen for many, many weeks, and had an incomplete dispersal of your show list there, so that could kind of put us under some pressure here to wind up the end of the year. But you look at your weighted average on a live steer price at 109.52, which was down $4.51, and on a dress steer 169.92, down $4.93. Really a disappointing fat trade to end the week last week. They traded some cattle earlier at 111, 112. Everybody thought, oh man, surely it's not going to be that bad. It ended up being a full $5 lower. But a lot of your analysts still claim that the market's going to be better after the first of the year. Now, the only thing that I can really see that makes that sound true is your February board on your live cattle is better than your December board. Now, if that's the only thing we're looking at, it doesn't take a whole lot of analyzing to do that. But yeah, we may hold this fat cattle market together a little bit. But you look at, we're at a negative basis right now. We saw a positive basis there for a couple of weeks there earlier in the month, and we're unable to hold that together. So why we're going to get better as we go into the new year is hard to believe. And if you look down the road to your late spring and summer months, it's all a whole lot lower than what we're trading at right now. So, and that's really what we're looking at, buying calves to background as yearlings for the late spring and summer, and buying big feeders for fat cattle at the same time. It doesn't look good for either one. Now, the one thing that is good is your Dow has been higher. The stock market, 15 days out of the last 23, it's been higher since we've had the election. I will agree that a lot of people have high hopes that Trump got in. Your people in agriculture especially, they tend to be conservative, and I think we would sure be in a doldrum had it turned out the other way. But people are pretty energized and feel pretty good about things. You look at your feeder cattle, cash feeder cattle markets early in the week on Monday. Oklahoma City at 9,300 head. Their feeders were $1 to $5 higher, which is really surprising to me. I'll be the first one to say I thought it'd be quite a bit lower. Calves steady to $5 higher, or actually steady to $5 lower. No, your calves were lower, especially on your peewee calves. But feeder cattle, 1 to 5 higher. It did moderate a little bit late in the day. They were calling it higher than that early in the morning there, and it started to taper off a little bit. But and we saw better demand for the big calves than we've seen for a while. We've had a couple of real cold spurts on those cattle. It really toughens them up, makes them harder, a lot easier to background. And so we're starting to see some people that were kind of staying away from those big calves start to come into the big calf market, because you can buy them cheaper than you can the yearlings, and there's a lot of them to be had right in that upper 5s to low 7 range, and all those 6-weight cattle are that way. But look at Joplin, 7,500 head there. Their steer calves $3 to $7 higher, and then the heifer calves and yearlings steady to $2 higher. If you look on your Cattle Market Central report out of Joplin Regional Stockyards, there were over 1,000 head of both 5 and 6 weight steers. And those cattle were selling from 3.5 to 4.5 higher on the average, and that's sure higher there. And just saw a lot of people coming in now that those cattle are long weaned, hard, and had a couple of cold spells on them, to start buying some cattle like that to background. Look at some other markets there early in the week. Kingsville, Missouri, there in west central Missouri had a load Tuesday at just after 2 o'clock. Load of 808-pound steers bring $140.85, off a good price. And then up in the northern plains, Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota had 116 big steer calves, weighed 653 at $153. So that's your 3-minute market report, and we'll talk to you on Friday.